Rescuers find Aussie tourist after 2-week ordeal. Pails fly at water protest. I'm Desiree Gasper and this is Cuppa News. Australian tourist Andrew Gaskell, who went missing nearly 2 weeks ago after embarking on a solo trek at the Mulu National Park, has been found alive. Search and rescue teams have been combing the Mulu summit after a local friend of Gaskell's lodged a police report on October 20th. The 28-year-old got lost after eschewing local park regulations requiring that visitors take a guide. Details of where and how he was found are still sketchy. Gaskell arrived at Miri Hospital's emergency ward about 3 p.m. on Tuesday after being flown out from Mulu by helicopter. He was thin and weak and had an injured foot. More than 60 personnel were involved in the search and rescue effort, including those from the Fire and Rescue Department, Police, Civil Defence Force and Sarawak Forestry Rangers. The Mulu National Park has networks of vast caves, underground rivers and steep mountains as well as sharp limestone walls. Frustrated members from the Selangor UMNO youth staged a protest, flinging pails and water bottles at the entrance of the State Secretariat building, calling for immediate action to resolve the ongoing water crisis. The group marched from Dataran MBSA to the SUK building to hand over a memorandum of protest to Selangor Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Azmin Ali. When denied entry, they proceeded to fling pails and water bottles into the vicinity.
Jadi hal ini kita dah bawa pada tahun lepas lagi, yang mana Kerajaan Negeri Selangor berjanji untuk menyelesaikan masalah air ini secepat mungkin. Tetapi kita tengok saban hari ianya seperti dilengah-lengahkan, ianya seperti ingin dipolitikkan, mengheret rakyat sampai ke pilihan raya yang akan datang.
Zainuri also called for the police to investigate Azmin as he had previously claimed that certain individuals or parties, hinting at UMNO, were sabotaging the state's rivers and affecting the water resources there. The memorandum of protest was eventually handed over to Azmin's political press secretary, Suhaimi Shafi'i. Meanwhile, the issue of river pollution has been focused on Sungai Semenyih, but claims of contamination, including an awful smell and foam, has been reported by residents living near Sungai Batang Benar. Residents say the pollution has been happening for quite some time now, but the authorities who tested the water claim it's a natural occurrence.
Mana dia sungai ni dah tercemar sebenarnya dah lama dah, hampir dekat 8 bulan. Mana dia pihak berwajib pernah datang sebanyak 3 kali yang saya tahulah, mengambil sampel air untuk buat kajian. Apabila dia hadir ditanya oleh orang kampung, mengatakan sungai ini tak adalah, tak berbahaya dan sebagainya.
Dia punya buih tu bila dah banyak, bila angin datang kuat sampai ke rumah orang sebelah tu, besar-besar tu buih tu terbang.
Ada yang terjejas, ada yang sakit ke kena?
Tak ada pula, setakat ni tak ada yang sakit. Cuma lagi kita takut sungai ni mungkin dia pergi mengalir sampai ke sungai besar, mungkin air ni digunakan untuk orang minum kan. Bila takut nanti bila tercemar sungai tu, macam loji air, dah banyak air busuk lah, air tak boleh pakai lah, mungkin sikit lama-lama jadi penyakit, kita tak tahulah kan.
Other than Sungai Batang Benar, complaints of pollution have also been made along Sungai Pajam, Sungai Beranang and of course Sungai Semenyih, which leads to Sungai Buah and eventually to the Sungai Semenyih water treatment plant. In Alor, the MACC detained 2 contractors and a Telecom Malaysia officer on suspicion of submitting false claims amounting to 400,000 ringgit. The trio, in their 30s, were arrested under the Anti-Graft Agency's Ops RTB, which was launched in October. According to a state MACC spokesman, the false claims were submitted to State Irrigation and Drainage Department for upgrading Sungai Tanjung Pao and the Muda Agriculture Development Authority Main Canal and North Canal, as well as flood mitigation projects which cost 1.5 million ringgit. He declined to comment further on the case as it was still under investigation. The PAC has found the Education Ministry guilty of contract mismanagement for their 4 billion ringgit One BestariNet project, which aims to provide high-speed 4G internet access for schools. In a report tabled at the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday, PAC Chairman Datuk Sri Hassan Arifin said the committee could not accept the reasons submitted by the Education Department. The ministry said it was not aware of a circular by the Economic Planning Unit which makes it mandatory for projects worth 50 million ringgit and above to go through a value management process. The PAC also recommended for the Auditor General's Department to have a follow-up audit on the project due to a lot of doubtful expenditures and said that they would be visiting the 10,000 schools involved. Last year, the Auditor General's report found that the software and equipment were used by just 1% of students in the participating schools. In the meantime, Minister of Domestic Trade, Cooperatives and Consumerism, Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin, defended the government's decision to remove the subsidy rationalization on cooking oil. He said consumers can still opt for the 1 kilogram polybag, which remains priced at RM2.50.
Mereka yang tidak mampu untuk menggunakan gaya hidup lifestyle dengan menggunakan membeli minyak masak yang besar-besar ini, kita berikan subsidi. Itulah yang kita lakukan. InsyaAllah ini akan memberikan keselesaan kepada semua rakyat. Kita ada choice 1 kg polybag yang kita berikan subsidi dan juga mereka yang menjual mengikut pasaran. Jadi terpulanglah kepada semua rakyat yang ada, fikirkan kalau rasanya nak beli yang dalam polybag, kita masih lagi berikan subsidi.
He earlier told the Dewan Rakyat that a family of 5 would have to fork out about 100 ringgit extra for cooking oil per year after the rationalization. Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of International Trade and Industry, Dato' Ahmad Mazlan, avoided a reporter's question on the 15-cent hike in fuel prices.
Rashid, nak tanya komen pasal kenaikan harga minyak. Memang sekarang isu sangat banyak orang viralkan ni, so Dato' nak dapat komen sikit boleh tak? Dato'!
Economic and trade relations between Malaysia and China have grown from strength to strength, and the latter's investments in the country are set to expand further. Malaysia and China signed 14 agreements on Tuesday, including one on Navy vessels, after a meeting between Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak and his counterpart Lee Keqiang. The agreement on the joint development of the vessels, known as littoral mission ships, was announced at a signing ceremony at Beijing's Great Hall of the People. The deal would mark Malaysia's first significant defence deal with China at a time of rising tension in the South China Sea and as the US and China compete for influence in the region. Putrajaya and Beijing also signed the Framework Financing Agreement and Engineering Procurement Construction Contract for the 55 billion ringgit East Coast Railway Line or ECRL project. The ECRL is set to be China's single largest investment in Malaysia. Meanwhile, Twitter was abuzz with news that Najibs' stepson, Riza Aziz, who's been linked to the 1MDB scandal, was part of the Malaysian delegation in China. PKR's Pandan MP Rafizi Ramli also questioned this in the Dewan Rakyat.
Kenapa anak tiri kepada Yang Amat Berhormat Pekan berada di atas kapal terbang yang dibiayai oleh kerajaan dalam lawatan Yang Amat Berhormat Pekan ke China sekarang?
An aide to First Lady Datin Sri Rosmah Mansor, however, addressed the matter, saying that the Chinese government had invited the Prime Minister and his family for the official trip. Datuk Rizal Mansor, in a statement posted on his Facebook page, said those familiar with Chinese culture would know it is a standard custom of China's top leaders who emphasize on strong personal and family relationships with their close counterparts. He added that dozens of trade and investment agreements were to be signed during Najib's official trip, which would lead to tens of billions of ringgit in investment, trade and benefits for Malaysia. So why begrudge him on a simple matter of bringing his children with him for the trip? In a separate development, Jono's family is fighting off attempts by the US to seize assets listed by the Department of Justice that were acquired using funds misappropriated from 1MDB. According to Bloomberg, Lowe's family members, including his brother and father, were forced to initiate the legal action to stop the asset seizure as the trustees holding the assets on their behalf had refused to do so. The assets include a $100 million interest in EMI Music Publishing Group, a $35 million Bombardier jet, and a $200 million stake in Park Lane Hotel. In world news, a South Korean man rammed a large excavator into a gate near the office where prosecutors questioned a woman at the centre of the scandal threatening the country's president. The woman, Choi Soon-sil, had said she deserves death, and the excavator driver said he came to help her die. Prosecutors are investigating Choi on suspicion of using her close ties to President Park Geun-hye to pull government strings and amass an illicit fortune. Police fired tear gas to scatter hundreds of anti-government protesters heading for the Pakistani capital after a court cleared the way for opposition politician Imran Khan to hold a mass protest this week. Khan has threatened to shut down Islamabad in his push to unseat Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on grounds of alleged corruption linked to the Panama Papers leak. CCTV footage has captured a little boy calmly scooting towards oncoming vehicles on his toy car during morning rush hour in the Chinese city of Lishui. Fortunately, he was spotted by a police officer who quickly carried him out of harm's way. It was reported that the boy was searching for his mother. Donald Trump's bid for the White House has been chronicled in a new 25-page comic book. Created by Storm Entertainment, Donald Trump, The Road to the White House highlights the start of the Republican presidential nominee's campaign in the point of view of an undecided voter in a red state. The issue will be released on November 2nd. That's our daily serving of Cuppa News. Thanks for watching.